Born in the backwoods.
Born in the backwoods.
Raised by a bear.
Raised by a bear.
Got cast iron nuts.
Got cast iron nuts.
And 2 coats of hair.
And 2 coats of hair.
Got a stainless steel dick.
Got a stainless steel dick.
Yeah, it's a mean, mean prick.
Yeah, it's mean prick.
I'm a mean motherfucker.
I'm a mean motherfucker.
Who don't take no shit.
I don't take no shit.
They don't like what you're
People
saying.
were walking off pissed, like, fuck you, fuck this audience. One girl even said, "You aren't worth my jokes." Put the mic back after like a minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How have you felt jumping into that atmosphere?
I was shy
Is it
at first,
pretty easy?
but I dig it now, where it's like I can be a person I wasn't for my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
A more outspoken person, a person not afraid to go in front of other people. Then you hear the laugh, and you're just like, "Yep, in the right place." Because my parents did not laugh. They
No.
did not like jokes. My dad has no sense of humor about anything about him. Like if he tripped or like I make fun of myself every day, and that's probably my downfall. Is I let the jokes in where then they think the bully ones at my work think they can bully because I don't mind.
Right.
But I don't like it when it's like ridiculing.
Yeah, when it's in a
laugh with me, not at me.
Right.
Yeah.
No, there's definitely a huge difference between that, and you can feel it whenever somebody's pulling that shit.
Yeah. So that's why I don't know if you read the whole thing, but I left early on Thursday where this guy wanted to pull his bully shit. I said, "Fuck it, I'm leaving." Don't. You're going home? And then he tried to poke me yesterday. Like, "You still grumpy?" I said, "You still a bully?" He's, "Oh, this is texting."
Right.
"Oh, you're just too sensitive." I go, "That's not what a trained clinician is telling me. He's telling me I work with assholes." Yeah, that's really what my fucking counselor said.
No, it's I think and that's
how I
at
feel
work.
with the comedy. That's how I reflect back.
That's what I was going to ask. Is that at work or at the comedy club? What's the atmosphere at the comedy club?
I have not had where I've felt like they've been against me. I'll open up with something to try to get them on my side. I always do that, and then they'll follow through. If you open up with some stupid shit, I see this every time. I've seen it 18 people at the pizza place in in Loveland. 17 dudes went in front of me. I was last. They all fucking bombed. I went in with a little something to to endear myself. They laughed the whole time. 5 minutes of laughter. I was like, I felt like the king of that night because it was.
Hell yeah.
I saw people that they don't have jokes. They have observations. Like, truck balls, they're funny. Okay.
Right.
Is that a joke?
Like, have you read on a lot of books having to do with comedy, or
I have not.
What's been your process with getting into that atmosphere? And just keep it just move forward a little bit more.
Sure. No, I just grew up appreciating comedy, sitcoms. I mean, there was a lot more sitcoms when I was younger, and they had them on. That was like the daily repeated shows. Reruns were comedies, and I would just be sucked into. That was kind of like my family for a lot of things because my family was not around. My dad was a fireman. He'd work 3-4 shifts in a row just not to be home, and my mom worked a full-time job at a doctor's office, so I'd see him. My dad half the time at dinner or less, and my mom, is TV dinner. It was like, there's your food.
Right.
There's your key. There's the closet with the snacks in it, And that was the only hour, maybe, and we weren't allowed to speak. They didn't want to have a conversation. It was before you had to help kids with their homework. We were more independent.
Right.
So, yeah, I didn't spend an hour with my parents every day. And the only way I got into spending my time with my dad was with the car stuff. And I was trying to bond constantly through the cars because he had a couple old cars, and I kind of spurred him on to do more of that and get more cars, to the fact where now he has 35 old cars. Well, we're both well known for the classic car world. I was a magazine editor known worldwide, but it still is kind of a sad thing to me now in reflection that we didn't enjoy them together. We had them, we built them, and I thought, We're going to go to trips. We're going to go to shows. We're going to do this traveling that car guys do. We never did it. My dad's cars haven't left Redondo Beach ever.
Damn.
They live in Redondo Beach.
Do you think for him it was more of a, like, I need to get this done, or I'm spending time with my son?
It was not to spend time with me, because I had to confront him about a year ago, like, Dad, what did you ever do for me? Well, car shows, took to car shows and swap meet. He said, you took me with you. You didn't take me to play football. You didn't take me to a guitar lesson.
I was there.
Yeah. I was allowed to tag along to your thing, but you didn't do something. Did you take me to an amusement park ever? None of these things ever happened. And I realize as a very active parent and grandparent, like, my kids tell me we're going on this train around the, mountains. You in? Like, I'm into for anything. We're going to go over and have lunch. I'll drive 2 hours to have lunch with them because I'm into being involved.
I think that happens to a lot of people. I mean, that I'm exactly the same way with my kids. Growing up with, my mom grew up with a single mother, so like she was always there. That was never an issue. It was usually like alcohol or drugs got in the way of that a lot growing up. But with my dad, it was, never there ever. And if there was ever, obviously he'd find an excuse to blame my mom. And don't get me wrong, my mom was a turd growing up, like in her teens and 20s. Like, she was not a good parent in the beginning, but kind of like found her way. There's not a rule book or like a do these things and your kid won't grow up all fucked up.
There was not.
But she figured it out. But I think with a lot of kids that grow up with distant parents, they either do the exact same thing or they go the completely different way and are very involved in their kids' lives. Very, what can I do to make this a memorable moment? What, how am I raising my kid? I really want to make sure I don't mess him up like I messed myself up kind of thing, or like my parents messed me up. So like I think it's one or two roads that a lot of people go down when they
that's
grow
the
up
front
like
of my brain
that,
constantly now. Is I told my daughter for Thanksgiving, I was like, I just want to make memories. That's it. My parents weren't into that. And I don't fault them for it. That they were raised that way, and it was normal to them. That's why you said either you do that or you do the opposite. And I was attracted to the opposite, So
no, the one thing I wish my family had done was family reunions, like big ones where we'd all meet up somewhere and have gay little T-shirts. The whole, the whole gambit.
Yeah.
Barrel of apples. Like
games, the whole thing.
Yeah, horseshoes. Like, you got the old uncles and grandpas and dads playing over there drinking, and like I had always wanted something like that. Never got it.
I'm right there with you.
My plan to do that is getting closer and closer as the boys get older and their cousins, my nieces, nephews, all that. I want that to be more of a thing. It's just when you grow up without that, I think it goes to the back burner for the kids that grew up with that. Sometimes, like I was saying, you go one or two ways. But hopefully after my kids turn 18, we want to buy some property out in Iowa, build like a compound, full on compound, like, because it's way cheaper than Colorado.
Okay.
I mean, when we bought this house in 2020 for like $400, and now it's gone up by like 2 or 3.
Oh yeah.
So it's I keep telling my wife, like, the second it hits twice what we paid, like, we're just gonna sell it and we're gonna move to Iowa and like, screw this. I'm not gonna keep. It's beautiful here. I love Colorado, but it's gonna take an active God, like a really nice job opportunity that just prolongs it a little bit more. Or man, it's just gonna take a lot to keep us here because it's so expensive, and I think it's just gonna keep going up.
Oh yeah. No, my son-in-law is into real estate. He sells real estate and high-end stuff down in the Springs, and
nice.
I know it's moving so fast, and they're building so much, especially down where he's at. It's crazy. And but I want to reflect on the family thing, where I would have always wanted that too. And I think at my point, it's like a nucleus where I have one daughter with grandchildren. I have no aunts, uncles, or grandparents. I'm it. I'm like the elder person right now, and I picture it as a one-legged horse. It's like it has no legs to run.
Right.
It's
You're
just one.
hopping.
Yeah, it's like we're it. I hope it gets bigger. I mean, I want to be around long enough till it grows a little bit, but it's like a realist tells me, well, the grandkids are 4 and 2. They're not talking about kids till 20 years from now, minimum, or maybe more. And me at 58, 20 years, I do all the math, and it's like it kind of gets depressing at times.
You're right.
You know, like, oh man, if I'm 90 when there's great grandkids for me, can I be active with that?
Right.
You know, like, can I make it that long? Will I be around that long? So I try and enjoy what we're doing in the moment, because
Right.
putting it off, and now I get these Instagram posts about at 50 years old, you only have 22 years left.
Oh God.
They're so depressing. And I go, well, I'm not even 50. I'm 58. And I do the math. I'm like, it says, waste no time, waste no weekends.
Just
and I'm like,
start sobbing.
damn it. Yeah. Where did the time go? I was 30 a minute ago. You know, my kids.
That's why we're wanting to move to Iowa, because there's more of her family over there.
Yeah.
And my family, I love my family. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong. They're most of my subscribers. So.
Okay.
But like, everybody's kind of clumped together in Iowa for her side of the family, and it's more of a, yeah, let's get together, let's drive 2 hours for a lunch, or you know, something like that. So I definitely feel you on that end. That's why I want to, I for sure envy Asian families and like Indian families, like the families that stay together in the same household to save money. And why are we going to pay for more when, you know, this part of the house can be your family's part of the house, but like everybody eats dinner at night? Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's why I want to have a compound. Like, I want to
Oh, that'd be my
build,
dream.
you know what I mean? Barn dominium, and then like bunch of houses
Exactly.
circling a huge garden that everybody plants and picks their food from. Like, it sounds like a utopia that can never happen.
If you got 20 people, you're not worried about who's going to take care of the horse today.
Yeah.
You got one person. I had a horse in high school, and it's a lot of work. You know, it was my dad's horse, and I helped take care of it. But but you got a compound with chickens and dogs and cats and horses and every creature and animal, and all those, because my kids love animals. My daughter was going to be a veterinarian, but her beloved golden lab passed away while she was at college here at Fort Collins, and it turned the corner on her where she's now a chiropractor. Very happy with it, but all my kids love animals, so that's why I would like that life.
I mean, that's the dream. Like,
Yeah.
that's the goal to go. Like, I want to be able to go, hey, can you watch Little Man tonight? Or, you know, my son's saying, hey, Dad, can you watch our kid tonight while we go on a date? Like, and I'm right there. That's what I want. But I feel like society and stuff like that kind of pushes people to, no, I have to do this on my own. I have to.
My parents never babysat my children one night. And now I have an ex that doesn't believe that males should be involved around younger children. And I didn't know it came from some crises in her house growing up, but she never let that loose until I had 2 daughters. Then it was, that's inappropriate. Them sitting on your lap while we're reading a book, that's inappropriate. They're sitting too close to you. I'm like, where is this coming from? Then I find out some dark stories.
Right.
So I'm suspect number 1 when it's the least possible thing that's ever going to happen. My daughters will tell you.
Right.
And it's sad. And then the granddaughters came, and I hear secondhand, Mom's saying, you know, is your dad changing any diapers? Like, well, that is just creepy. Is my son-in-law changing any diapers?
Right.
It wasn't a problem when I had 1 kid, a son. It wasn't a problem when I had 2 kids, a son and a daughter. But when I had 2 daughters, I guess the dynamic snapped. And
I think a lot of people that grow up with that kind of misfortune, like nobody wants to be diddled when they're a kid or anything. And I'm speaking from I've gone through this kind of thing, and I grew up around this with a lot of other kids that grew up in very impoverished areas with ghetto parents. Like, shit like that happens all the time. It's so when I can look at both sides and kind of take both sides, but I'm more of middle of the road where it's like, just make responsible choices. A dad reading to their kid on their lap, like, and your kid's the opposite sex, like, come on. But letting your daughter go to like another boy's house and sleep overnight, like, that's dumb. That's inappropriate. Don't let the girl who grew up with a dad who obviously has some like stuff going on in her life that leads her to, like, I grew up around a lot of girls that like had daddy issues. Like, it's a saying for a reason, but had issues like that introduced me to perverted things and stuff like that. So it's like, you need to be aware of those things when it comes to your kids. I don't let little girls around my boys that are like that, or boys around my kids that are like that. Like, you got to be responsible with how you raise your kids. But like, the second you start without any evidence making accusations or possible accusations of the dad, it's like, the fuck are we doing?
Well, if that's what you know, just like, I didn't know narcissistic, non-affectionate wasn't the normal because that's what I grew up with. I figured everybody's parents were like that.
Right.
So when I have a spouse that's like that, well, that's how it is. That's how people act when they're adult. You go through this courting period and then it turns off. My first joke I ever wrote for comedy was, the wedding ring is actually the off switch, because as soon as it's on, they just click it over and affection and intimacy goes out the window. That was just the prenup.
Right.
I
think there's a lot of
game show.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that the playoffs before the Super Bowl.
I actually want to write a book about affection-starved men, because I've met a lot of them, and I know a guy that's got a history, professional basketball player, kind of the Wilt Chamberlain story, thousands of women, and says, Jim, I didn't really want to sleep with all those women. I just wanted a hug because my mom abandoned me.
Damn.
At 5 years old. Like, that's fucking heavy. But
I just want to hug these women from the inside.
that happened, like, once you get them warmed up, I guess you got to go through that. But
right.
He didn't want all that. He just wanted a woman's, like,
attention and affection.
And affection, yeah.
I mean, there's guys that will pay porn stars to just talk to them and tell them how smart they are. Or there's the opposite of it where they want them to, like, spit in my face and step on my nuts.
Well,
like,
you know how weird you would sound as like, hey, could you just come over and, like, hug me? I really don't want sex, but, and that's really a lot of time, and men can't ask for that because you sound like a puss.
Right.
And that's just the norms we've set up. And I was going to say another norm where, okay, I grew up where there was the Big Brother Association and you could, like, foster kids and just hang out with them. Like, I heard an ad for that here locally, I guess in Fort Collins. Like, there's all these, kids that need some attention. It's like, but as soon as a male shows interest in that, I think you're 99% like, what's wrong with this guy?
Right.
You can't do it and be like of pure intention unless you're like, dude, I've had my dick and balls removed. Okay, can I hang out with some kids and show them a good time?
I just want to read to them.
But, it's like, you can't just be. So I would never even think about it. But it's like, I think these poor kids, they could use some outside.
It's a big deal when it comes to little boys specifically. Girls as well. I don't want to downplay that either. Like, for young women, it's a big thing. They need a father figure, and I
feel bad for these kids. Like, is there a way to do it where there's 30 kids, 20 guys, everybody's policing each other? It's not one-on-one, because that's where it starts to get creepy. Yeah. But if you had a gymnasium and there's activities, that seems like a good solution, or maybe.
I work with kids.
And it's men and women and girls and boys. It's everything, so no one's going to get out of bounds.
No, I completely agree. I think there's definitely a way to do that. And I think some foundations and groups have done stuff like that.
That would be amazing.
But it's few and far in between. And on top of that, I think to your point, it affects young boys as they're going through teenage years, hormones, all these things that are running through their head that they have no idea about, and they're getting, if they don't have a father figure at home and all they have is a mother, not that that's bad, like you need a father figure.
Right.
That's actually, I had a bunch of uncles and friends of my parents, of my mom.
My mom and dad both had 3 brothers. The uncles were,
yeah.
I took my dad stuff 80% from my uncles, like how to be a good dad, because they were just they just like, I was the firstborn in that family, grandchild or nephew.
Same.
So I was like the test kid, where all my uncles would do stuff with me. They'd take me to the park, they'd take me to the zoo, they'd take me to surf, and I like, that's what I want to be like these guys. Like they didn't have to do any of it. They weren't my dad that had like, oh,
like it's a chore to be there with you.
Yeah. You know, like my dad wouldn't take me to get a hamburger. Like that was like, that's adult stuff that you don't need, you know. But my uncles were treating me like, yeah. So
I think the part, I think that's a good thing in the long run. But I think with young boys, especially when they're growing up with like anger issues and emotional issues, and just, let's say they had trauma when they were younger that just wasn't addressed, like that on top of anger issues, and not having an adult male there to point them in the right direction and explain to them, like, this is what I did, this is what happened to me, and like, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm giving you some good avenues to deal with the issues that you're going through right now. It's harder to take it all in when you're that age as a young man, because
you have no idea.
It's going through one ear and out the other, unless it's somebody that is consistent and constantly there. Like it makes such a big difference, because you could drop some amazing knowledge on me as a young man, and like everything you're saying is completely correct, but it's going through one ear and out the other, because all I'm thinking about is waiting to get to my room in the house alone so I can go beat off for like till people get home. Like when you're a young kid, you're either in the mode to listen or you're not, and it's just gonna bounce right out of your noggin.
Most of the time you're not. It's like I just want to go ride my bike. I just want to go hang out with my friends. You're like, I want to build a model car. It's like so many different things like you want to do. It's not about learning at that point. And something that was huge to me is I found out my favorite uncle that spent the most time with me was the most involved in my life and taught me things. He had a paint store, and he'd have me work there during the summers like a teenager, but I was, 10, 11, and just treated me like, not like I was a dumb kid. That's what I was meant to feel like most of the time.
Like a young man.
Yeah. And I found out after he committed suicide that he had been molested as a child. And that was never even a thought. Or I would have never known he had to deal with it. He didn't put it on me that he had to deal with it. He didn't, ever cross that line that I would even think that he had a thought like that. And that's why I consider that person a saint. And I think there's a lot of those out there. They just don't get credit for it. And he might not ever got credit for it, but I just heard a story, and I was like, wow, that is so heavy, because he had some heavy issues at the end there, and veteran in and out of the VA with alcoholism.
That on top of it, man.
And he would get on a straight path again and then fall off and get on a straight path. And I do consider him a saint for what he went through and what he faced and what he passed on to me, that is still with me every day. And I feel his spirits around me every day. I'm not a big religious, but I know he's still, I had a person that is known, their family was known for talking to dead people. And never thought of it. And she says, who's the guy with the mustache and the hat? I had to think about it for a second. My uncle would always wear hats that I gave him, and he had a mustache. Like, how would this person that knows nothing about me know there's a guy with a mustache and a hat saying he's sorry, he should have taken his meds? So that's a different
Right.
route to talk about, but that's just so many different things happen where it's like, I believe in that a little bit.
I think it's a mix. Dude, you'd be surprised the shit I believe. Man,
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is I want to believe in that as well, which is to my detriment because it's like I could
give me a sliver and you'll make an island. It's like I would like more proof on certain things and I'll never get it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If I'm more of a I believe there's a higher power. I believe that, there's something out there that we just have no clue is there. We're told by people that have the utmost confidence in what they're saying. Like, no, God's real. Trust me.
Sure.
Listen to me. He spoke to me. Like, I read the Bible and blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to believe that more than anything in the world so that I can, like, just dedicate my heart and mind to that. I'm getting there slowly but surely, but for me it's hard because it's like if all these I don't trust a lot of people,
right?
Like, and I think
are they overplaying it? Is it just a vapor? Is it just a slight feeling that's out there, or is it this whole furnished heavenly theme park? It's like, what is it? You want to believe the story that it's super set up and it's there's your family and you're all going to be happy, or is it just a twinge of an echo of a life that was led?
I think Christianity is the closest we have as an example to the afterlife. That being said, like I don't know. I need more. Obviously, it's all based off faith. Sure. I do agree that the Bible itself and all the different versions of the Bible and different books are basic instructions before leaving Earth. I think it's the best example of how to live your life in the vision that our Lord and Savior has given.
Yeah. There could be
live
zero
like Jesus.
After, but it lets you lead a more respectful life.
Yeah.
And just treating other people well and being a good example to your family and other people. That could be all it is, an instruction manual just to be a good person. Because you know how societies have just torn themselves down when they didn't have any morals. They just destroyed themselves.
And that's what people are doing now. That's what infuriates me with how people, like, dude, be agnostic, be whatever you want to be, but, like, we need to have a fallback line of decency, morals, and things like that, and how to live our lives.
Live as crazy as you want, but don't promote other people to do that just so you feel more comfortable.
Yes. Or for children. Like, you can't... Children are very impressionable, and you could talk kids into a lot of crazy stuff. Like,
they're pure angels, and then they do not need to be corrupted at an early age.
Yeah.
That's just not... I don't care what you believe in. That's just off limits. Yeah. And when you start crossing that line, that's when I want to push back, and that's when society needs to push back.
No, I agree. That's definitely one of my things when it comes to my kids. Is like, dude, if I could homeschool my boys, I would.
Not until you've had the angels in your life can you fully appreciate them and know no harm better ever come to these, pure souls.
No, dude, I completely agree.
Yeah.
With not to go completely in a different way, but
go turn a corner.
We've been chit chatting for like about half an hour. Yeah. Who are you and what do you do?
I am Jim Ost. I found out some stuff I recently pulled out of storage. I've been calling myself just Jim for decades because that's what I believe I am. I want to write a book, and I talked to my counselor about this. It's just Jim because I feel in a lot of ways I've been alone a lot, and I've taken care of myself a lot, and I don't want to sound braggy, but I don't have a lot of people to thank for where I'm at right now. I did a lot of stuff, and I could get the people to agree with me that I'm talking about. I'm not trashing people in my life like, yeah, Jim's pretty independent. He's gone through some tough shit, and I'll talk to my parents about that, stuff I've gone through, and You know, they won't say they've abandoned me, but they won't try and say, "Oh, we helped you through that, and we helped you through that."
They
and
won't
that.
downplay it. That's
No,
good.
they know. I got divorced, and I lived in a van.
Down by the river?
Down by the river. I didn't tell nobody. I got a job. I worked at the job. I went to the van at night. Nobody knew that. I showed up to work like a normal guy, and I was paying an ex-wife child support that I legally didn't have to have, but she had gotten a lawyer with our money. I didn't know that was our money because she always made it, well, this is my money and this is our money. Your money's my money. My money's my money. And so
what's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine.
So she got the lawyer who said, well, you have a potential of making this much money. So that's what you're going to be demanded to pay. And I was homeless, jobless for a year. Then I was homeless for a year and a half after that, paying this child support and working. And so I've been through, I can talk about it now. I didn't want to talk about it then. I was very ashamed that I'd gotten to that point because I lived a good life. I had a great job. I had a great house. Thought I had a great family. I have beautiful kids that I was very involved with, but it was suddenly just gone. It was taken away, and I was on an island. And but aside from that, I grew up in Redondo Beach, California. Multiple generations there, back to when the city was founded in 1862, I believe. My great-great-grandfather was a sea captain that brought ships in. It was a port below Los Angeles port and above San Pedro. Those are the two big ports to this day, but Redondo Beach was a port in between. Now it's just a nice coastal city. And my dad was the fireman and fire chief there, and so we were very involved with the community and loved that. But it's now slowly turned into a tech city where it's big money, big houses, big condos, where it was single-family homes when I was growing up. Now it's 6 condos on a lot.
Oh, right.
You know, they're all multiple millions apiece, and it's just not the laid-back I grew up in. That's why I love Colorado. My daughter actually came here to college at Fort Collins because she was going to go to Stanford or Fort Collins because they had the best veterinary programs. And she fell in love with Fort Collins and said, when I get my degree in chiropractic, because she had to go here 4 years and then California 4 years, she moved here within days. She's a very planned out girl.
Nice.
I congratulate her for how well put together she is, where she went all through high school, 4.4 grade average, great student, and then college here, and with my son-in-law. He followed her, and he worked, and she went to school, and then she went to California and got that degree. And she had this much of a plan where she knew that she wanted to get married before she graduated because that would be the name on the on her, what do they call it? Diploma. And she wanted that because it's really hard to get it changed.
Was she already dating?
She was dating him here, but then she's still dating him through the second college in California.
I need to get married before I graduate. I love
just
that.
Just that it was like that much of a thought. Like, well, I have to be married, and then I'll graduate. I saw her walk down the graduation aisle. She left California within days of graduating, straight to Colorado. 9 months to the day, almost like Elvis, my first granddaughter was born after she got married. She had that planned out as well. And she just is
ovulating around this day.
Really well put together. I just really appreciate all my kids and my daughter, how she's been so, put together as far as, and she runs a great office down in the Springs where it's a collective of female, not just doctors, but people that supply services to pregnant women, massages,
medulla.
Yeah, the mothering where they have the childbirthing at home.
Yeah, it's
a collective, I think, of 6 different people. It floats 4 to 8, and they do the breastfeeding stuff. They do she chiropracts babies and
babies.
Yes, they get these slight adjustments, and it improves all these things. They're not like bone cracking, but it's adjustments that improve their digestion, their breastfeeding. It solves colic. I know. Yeah, I know. It's just these tiny adjustments, and
We're just gonna
Some-
deep breath.
Yeah. So she does that, and
That's awesome.
I think it's great. So I've got the, like I said, I skipped grew up in Redondo Beach. I joined the military my senior year of high school because I didn't know how to adult, didn't know at all how I was going to take care of myself because I was told at 18,
get out.
you're done. So military wanted me. I had every recruiter knocking on my door because I scored the highest on the mechanical aptitude test in Southern California that cycle, I guess. So Marines, Navy, Army, Air Force is knocking on my door, and this will sound funny because you know how deeply military you are. I picked the one with the uniform I could feel the
best in.
Feel the most comfortable in. I wasn't going for that swabby, tight
Marine
shirt with the bell bottoms.
Yeah.
And the Marine thing, well, I was talked out of that because
They got nice uniforms. I'll give them that.
they got nice uniforms, but I was talked into the fact that what are you going to do after you're a Marine?
Right.
You scored this high score. You can ask for any job in the military you want, basically. So go with the one that's going to give you the best potential for post-military service. So that's why I chose the avionics.
Nice.
And the Air Force.
Did that end up paying out once you got out?
To a degree.
job-wise?
To a degree. So I went through the Air Force. I learned all the great skills on the aerospace side. And then I came back and I got into aerospace at Honeywell. But
Oh, nice.
2 years into that, Honeywell decided they're going to sell all their contracts to Japan and Mexico. And all the other manufacturers there, like McDonnell Douglas, plane companies, decided that would be a great idea too, is to just sub it out. And there was thousands of people looking for a job that would pay $5 an hour when you were making $30 an hour.
Ooh.
2 months ago. I'm competing as a 5-year person with 30-year people.
Right.
That got to keep a house and cars and kids in college.
Insurance and-
Yeah,
this is in California?
in Southern California.
God.
So that's when I diversified and I was managing a car shop, and I met a person at a car show, and they were like, "Hey, you seem to know a lot about these old cars." And I had studied these old cars all growing up. I had a magazine collection, 10,000 car magazines, and just studied them inside and out. And I'm like, yeah, I know a lot about the cars. Well, you should come to our office because I'm a publisher at Peterson Publishing, which was the main magazine. They did Motor Trend, Hot Rod, all those. Like, oh shit! Like, I'd always wanted to be involved with magazines, but I was never given a clear path. I asked one of my heroes, like, how do you get in the magazine business? And he goes, hey kid, it just happens. Like, well, do you go to school and do you apply here? No, it just happens. And then it did. It just happened. You know? So then I was an editor at a truck magazine, which led to a job at my favorite magazine growing up. And that was a beautiful life. I loved it. It was a dream job for a car person that loves magazines. I'm writing stories, taking pictures, getting paid to go to car shows, staying in nice hotels. And I call myself a 3-time loser because aerospace crapped out. Then the magazine business crapped out when the internet started giving people their infotainment quicker. Like, you could go to a car show. We're not going to have it in print for 6 weeks. But a guy with a little camera, a little electric camera or a phone, he can do show coverage at a car show the same day. So we got no dog in the fight.
Right.
And they started shutting down magazines to the point where there's no magazines left. No, you can't go. There's 2 car magazines that even exist. And all the car shows that were produced by that same company have been shut down. The magazines are shut down. So I still will contribute to. There's some independent magazines out there still, which I'll write a story for, but they come out once a year. It's not a career anymore. So then I got into having a car shop, bought a big franchise, and
was this detail work or?
No, I bought a hot rod franchise of a company that sold hot rod parts and apparel, which was doing extremely well. It was 1999. They opened. We go up to 2006. I get laid off from the magazines, and there's a friend. And I said, "Hey, I'd like to open my own shop." These are my friends that own this bigger shop. They go, "We'll do better than that. We'll sell you a franchise." Like, oh, that sounds great, because they had all this marketing behind them and this past history, and everybody at the car shows are wearing their hats, their T-shirts. They're selling like crazy. get the money together, get the franchise. 3 months into it, 2006, the economy takes a gigantic shit. And nobody wants to buy hot rod parts and T-shirts. That's extras. That's not
I gotta keep the house.
Got to keep the house and the food on the table. So that's the third big loser where I've had to rebuild, and that's when the house situation slowly declined. Where the wife finally said, "Hey, you can go. I'll give you that early parole. You know, you don't have to stick around." And it's like she just kicked me out. Like, you're done. Like, it was all good when she was going through college, and and now she's got high up making the six figures, but she can do it on her own. She doesn't need dead weight. So that's when I again, that's the survival thing. So I'm here in Colorado working at a great hot rod shop with people I like, cars I like. So that's how I've just kind of moved past it, and now do the comedy thing. I'm working on writing a couple books. So that's where I'm at.
Good. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I like being here. Yeah, I mean, I hope more of my family can move here eventually if they want to. Not twisting any arms. I think if we can do well enough and we can get more people over here. My son tried it. He wasn't into the weather.
I don't blame him.
He's stick in Southern California, and I don't blame him. I mean,
that's why it's so expensive there. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
except for like the homeless people.
Yeah, that wasn't a deal when in 2006, and now that's kind of overrun. But yeah.
So
not going back
with your time in the military compared to after you got out, was it an easy transition when you were getting out, or?
Well, it was. I was crazed to be out and on my own with my new wife, and I see my friend that was it's a weird story, but I saw him. We crossed paths at basic training. Like, that guy kind of looks like a family member, and I've told him this recently. He didn't know this. I go, I think we could be related, just as a thing. Then I end up in Minot, North Dakota. I'm in my shop. I'm in the dorms, and they're like, hey, this other guy's coming in a couple weeks, and you guys could probably even be roommates because he'll be working here. He comes in. It's the guy I crossed paths with at basic training. Like, no way. Ends up, he was born 26th of October, 66. I was born 28th of October, 66. And we just became like best friends and roommates and work in the same shop. He's doing the same MOS as me.
That's cool.
And so our 2 years in North Dakota, I was his best man. He married a local girl in Minot and went straight to the Philippines. He had orders to the Philippines.
I thought he just moved out there. I was like, smart move.
No, he had orders, and he had orders, and he got this girl pregnant on a first date.
Oh,
so
no.
He's taking a new wife to the Philippines, and he planned on going over there solo.
I mean, if there's a place to be single in, the Philippines are definitely where to go.
Yeah, I guess it was at one point, and he didn't live the crazy times over there. But
did you?
I didn't go to the Philippines. I went home to Redondo Beach.
Yeah,
gotcha. I got out and joined the California Air National Guard just to be in California.
Right.
Because I had made the mistake when they asked your dream list. They call it. Do they have that in your?
Yeah.
What's your dream list?
They give you like three or four picks. And then they either pick one of those or they just say, sorry.
Like, screw all those.
Yeah.
Well, I was young and dumb, and I picked 3 California bases because I liked the locations. Already assigned to avionics, I picked 3 bases without airplanes. So, like, this dumb fool, let's just send him to Minot, North Dakota. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And no one wants to go to Minot, North Dakota. There's no one that purposely wants to go there. And,
at least it's not Fort Polk.
There's as many
Louisiana.
jokes. Oh.
Their national bird is a mosquito.
I was trained. My first school was Biloxi, Mississippi, and it's equally 9 months there was equally horrendous. But there's a lot of sayings about Minot. Why not Minot? Freezing's the reason, because it's just flat and cold. Like, you can drive to the Canadian border and it's beautiful. It's like Wizard of Oz when it goes to color. That's Canada. Minot is just flat, barren. It snows sideways. It's freezing cold. 8 months of winter. One of the funnier sayings was, "There's a girl behind every tree," because there's no trees.
Oh God!
And you got these scandalous airmen going to town 13 miles from the base. They're dating too young of girls because there's none 18
Right.
that aren't married with 6 kids.
Right.
You know, so it was just not a fun place to be. I was just not into Minot, North Dakota.
Man.
So I joined the Guard, did my time out there, and that's when I got into commercial avionics. That lasted a minute, and I didn't like it either. I was glad that it actually crashed because it's working inside a building at a cubicle with a fluorescent light, bricks, and they just hand you a unit.
Oh no.
You fix it. They hand you a unit. You fix it, and
So depressing.
2 smoke breaks and a lunch. It was like, this is just cattle. You know, like I couldn't have done it.
Sounds like it.
I couldn't have done it for 20 years. It was terrible.
How long did you do it for?
Like 2.5 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's.
Luckily, then it crashed.
Surprised.
You know,
God.
the whole avionics crashed. Aerospace industry crashed. So I got out. Yeah, I would have. But then I was gonna say, so I had this friend in the Air Force. We started just living our own lives. He had kids and a family, and he moved around the country, a few places. I had my kids and family in Redondo Beach, but we've recently reconnected very strongly.
Nice.
And he's single. I'm single.
Oh no, that sucks. That sucks. He is married.
No.
Too.
Oh, I could go on about his
yeah.
situation. It wasn't a fun one either. So, but we've survived. But what was different is I envied him because he stayed in. He didn't have any forces drawing him out, and he had a great experience in the Air Force. They took care of him. He retired on a Friday in uniform, and on Monday he went in civilian clothes and kept the same job for 20 more years.
That's badass.
He's
As
got
a contractor.
40 years. Yeah.
Damn.
Double retirement. Beautiful house in Florida. All his own toys. He's a car guy too, like me. This only matters to car people because I think it's a neat story. So we're both into the day or the year and all this stuff when we're born. That's why I mentioned the numbers earlier. Like we were born 2 days apart. He bought a Camaro 15 years ago that was made the day he was born. It was October 26, 1966. It's a very early production car. So he has this car and he loves it. Well, the 50th anniversary of the Camaro came up, and he worked out a deal with GM where he got another blue Camaro, the highest, optioned out Z28 you could get, and they walked him down the assembly line on October 26th. 16, whatever 50 years later was, he got to walk down and watch his car roll off the end.
That's cool.
And he has those 2 Camaros. They're both blue. They both have white stripes. And it's just like, I envious because I've had cars I had 2 Volkswagens that were made the week we were born. And I collect bicycles that were made the month I was born. And so, yeah, he taught me when he had the pair of Camaros. He still has them.
I mean,
yeah. So it's pretty
he's
cool.
got disposable income with that 40-something years in federal government. Like,
yeah, he's doing all right.
Hopefully, he went to the VA afterwards too. Got a medical pension. That'd be awesome.
He seems to be dealing with a combination of both because I wasn't going to bring it up, but he's had some medical issues with a heart aneurysm. And he's seeing the best of the best doctors through the military, but they're outside doctors.
Okay, good. There's so many benefits that a lot of older generation military vets have no idea that they're able to use.
Oh yeah.
My grandpa,
I didn't know.
He passed, and he had a lot of medical issues, and the VA, with the benefits that are available to him at the time, built a ramp in the front and in the back, and also put a wheelchair lift in the garage. Fantastic. To get him in and out of the house. Had a medical bed, the whole hospital style bed, and his wife was a nurse, or is a nurse, and she got paid to take care of him as his caretaker. So there's benefits a lot of people don't even know about that are available to spouses.
Oh yeah.
And the the veteran themselves. So if there's ever any questions your friend might have, please don't hesitate to let me know.
I should mention myself, where I did not know. I had a bad view of what it's like inside the VA hospitals through my uncle when he was getting treated for alcoholism. And it just looked like, I would reflect it as taking a dog to a pound. Like, he didn't want to go. The people in there didn't want to be there. You know, it was like, this is what you got. And so I
Have
never
fun.
yeah, I didn't want to be a part of it. But then I came to Colorado 2 years ago on 4th of July weekend. I started spitting up blood.
Oh,
And
God.
I went to the emergency room and like, oh, you've got a herniated diaphragm. Your stomach is up above your diaphragm. You're getting surgery in the morning, 8 a.m. Like, I didn't have health insurance. I didn't know about having health insurance because I had really good health insurance when I was married. That was her job at Sky.
Right.
I should at her company was
I can bleep that out.
yeah.
No worries.
At her company was giving the or setting up the insurances and then following through with these insurance contracts to make sure the best insurance was given. So I always had really good insurance. And then I'm no insurance. I go in, get the surgery Saturday morning. They send me home, and then about 30 days later, a bill comes for $130,000
Damn.
for the 2 days in the hospital. And like, well, you make too much to get a payment program or any assistance, so it's really on you. And we can start setting you up on $6,000 a month payment because that's what we'll offer.
Damn.
And I was like, oh. And that was when my eyes were open. Like, you should join the VA hospital because they will take care of you. I'm like, I really don't know about this, but I went in. I was like, it's a beautiful facility.
Did they cover the bill?
Oh no, I wasn't signed up, so that was on me.
Oh.
But so now I've got insurance and get excellent care. Yeah, that should go out to any veteran that's not already hooked up with the VA as at least a fallback or your main insurance.
Tilt this towards. It's pointed that way. This one.
Okay.
I just want to make sure it's picking up everything you're saying.
Yeah, so that's a huge one that if you're not taking advantage of, if you're a vet and don't have a VA hospital medical connection, you need to.
Well, yeah, a lot of guys, older vets, think if I'm not missing a leg or if I didn't get blown up or if I didn't deploy, whatever it may be, then I don't need this. I don't want a handout. I don't want this. Right. I don't want that. The military, you have done something that over 98% of Americans haven't done. You volunteered for the military. You put your life on the line for your country, and you deserve the benefits that are allotted to you that other veterans have fought for. Like, I didn't know this. There's a Medal of Honor recipient that he had issues with the IRS, and they were trying to take his money because his wife had been lying and said that she was paying taxes. She wasn't paying taxes, but the IRS couldn't give a precise answer on how much money he owed or she owed, but now he owes.
Yeah, you take that debt.
So they started taking money out of his military pension, his VA disability money. And the government found out about it because it got put out on the news because, like, this dude has had the most arduous journey through life. Man, such an amazing story. But the military found out that the IRS was taking his money for however many years, and they put a stop to it. And then they passed a bill making it to where the IRS or companies or whatever cannot take a military veteran's pension money for his VA disability or whatever it may be. You legally can't take that money. You can't pull it out of his check or whatever. So, which is amazing for everybody else because at least then even if it's only like a couple $100 a month, now you don't have to worry about the government taking even more of your money. Like, we got cadences. They give you $100 and they take back 99. That's not a joke. The government will get theirs. Yeah. So I love telling people that story. Like, there's people have given their lives and fought, blood, sweat, tears, all that to give us the benefits, and so have we to receive the benefits that are available to us. And you'd be an idiot not to take advantage of it.
Completely.
Not in a like, oh, let's take advantage of the government. Like,
no, that's what I used to think it was.
It's out there for you.
Exactly what you said. Like, I didn't have a leg blown off. I didn't retire from the military, so I don't deserve these benefits. And I find out the complete opposite. And when I go in to get just some basic medical tests, they're asking me questions about my mental well-being, where I thought, geez, these people actually care. And that's when I got into the counseling thing, because I'd had a counselor, civilian, and she was really good. But it was like, once I had no insurance, I wasn't ever having a counselor again. Didn't plan on it, but I've been provided a great counselor. There's a whole wing over there that's just counseling.
It makes a huge difference. And I think a lot more veterans have, kicked up enough kerfuffle or whatever to bring attention to that stuff. Because, I mean, just go back 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, how mental health and emotional health was looked at for veterans. Like, it wasn't, I mean, shit, it's already 2025. Like,
yeah,
God, it has been 24 years since 9/11, which then led to the GWAT, it's the differences in VA healthcare now compared to 2002, 2003 era. Even then it was crap. After we had already gone to war, I'm very happy, and I think it can get better with the VA healthcare that I received today, because enough people have gone through the crap that the government provided previously and now still today in some aspects with the VA. Enough people have gone through horrible situations with how they take care of us that they've changed it. Yeah. They've gotten into places of power, or they've complained to people in places of power to get these things changed, because there's always somebody who's related to or knows someone that's a veteran. Even though we're a very small community, there's somebody that knows somebody that's a veteran that they have a story of, oh yeah, he killed himself or self-deleted. Or he's going through whatever and the VA is not helping him, and he was on the phone for hours, and I've had to deal with that for a while, but now we have things like Care in the Community, and a lot of these newer VA hospitals and clinics they're full of people that are married to veterans or know veterans or have a family member that's a veteran. And they just genuinely want to help. And I think right now the only thing really holding back better health care for vets regarding PTSD and mental health is just the rules that the government federally are put in place right now that are kind of holding back the ability to use psychedelics instead of SSRIs, because I don't think SSRIs are the answer to help vets with PTSD and mental health. I think in some aspects it helps, but I think right now that's the only big thing in my eyes, and I'd love to have people on that could tell me something different, give their opinion. I think that's the only thing that's really holding back the VA from becoming way better than it is now, especially compared to what it used to be. But it's changed so much.
It opened my eyes. Yes,
seriously, and I love it. There's programs out there, and all you have to do is ask. And if they don't provide it, keep asking. Keep
the stereotype from 20, 30 years ago doesn't need to exist of the babbling, crazy veteran in an army coat on the street, causing trouble. Because there's programs that they should be in. But that was just how it was portrayed. Like, you were either a normal citizen or you were a complete loony. Movies like Trading Places, where Eddie Murphy's pretending to be a veteran that had his legs blown off, and he's just a scam artist. Like, you had to just always kind of have that in the background. Like, this guy's not really a veteran,
Come on,
First
man,
of all, he's 20 years old, and
Vietnam
was 30 years ago, and he's like, yeah, I'm a Vietnam vet. Like, the whole false valor thing was always kind of like, well, I don't want to be involved with that.
Right.
So
Stolen valor.
yeah,
There's so many. Oh, man, I'm the biggest thing I like bringing up is homeless veterans. There should be no homeless veterans. There's no excuse on why that should be around today.
I always thought there should be these like mini towns that are just veterans with these businesses that somehow can send products or whatever or services out from, so they have something to do. They kind of self-support at least a working community, you know,
Right.
plus get their any mental or health issues dealt with at the same time, because they're in one area where they're, you know, they're just like, oh, that guy's just, you know, down an alley somewhere in New York, you know, like, no, that's a community. It's got a theater, it's got a bakery, it's got a grocery store, but it's veterans, and you can visit it, you know, that's fine, you know, it's open to the public. But it's like, I don't know why that seemed like, when I was all alone, I was wishing there was a way I could be back in the military, but I surpassed that age.
Right.
I was like, God, I would go back and do voluntary service if they would just. I didn't appreciate enough how they housed me, fed me, gave me medical care when I had access to it. You know, I was like, when I'm living in a van with no job, I'm like, I don't care what I'm doing. As long as I'm helping out some way, I will trade that for a roof over my head. I mean, I wasn't going to go rob a bank. I've heard that's an extreme for some people. I just read about a guy that robbed a bank for $1 so he could get in jail and get medical treatment. You know, it's like, but when you get to a certain age, you feel like there's no help for you. You know, like, I'm too old to be involved. And yeah,
that's why I push for veterans to get in touch with these groups, workshops, foundations, whatever, because I think that a lot of people miss that structure, consistency. You know, like, you knew what you were going to be doing that day and the next day and for like a week or a month or whatever. And you already had somebody somewhere to sleep. Yeah. You always had something to eat, you know, and it
24 hours. It's
structure. Yeah. And a lot of people love it. I grew up with that after joining the military. Like, joined at 17. Like, that is just, that's all I knew for about 8 years. Like, it's nonstop all the time, every day. Like, it's a huge difference leaving the military and going into the real world, because you're just scared of, like, am I going to do this right? Am I going to screw this up? Yeah. You know, and that's why I push a lot of veterans to get involved with these groups and foundations, because a lot of people are missing that. And a lot of you're not going to be getting what you got when you were in the military, but you can help other people that have gone through whatever situation, you know, you're going through at that moment or have been through. Like, you can help those other veterans and build that bond again with people outside of the military.
That's what I was talking about when I said I sent you a note that I would have probably chosen a different path in the cars if I had to do it all over again. I would have chose some kind of counseling or way to help people through difficult situations, because I have recognized, even on Facebook and Marketplace, people that were about to commit suicide, where other people are like, ha ha ha, laughing on their post. And these people are crying for help, and they're not noticing or recognizing this call for help. Because they say, you know, the suicide people throw out some markers, you know, like they give away their pets, sell all their stuff, give away stuff, and say, you know, well, it's just as soon as my dad goes, I'm done. You know, like they're holding on for one thing, and people aren't reading that and seeing that and knowing. I've showed up at 2 doorsteps of people that were like, they were ready to go. And I hadn't seen one of them in 20 years, but I saw it on Facebook. This person's not doing well.
All it takes is going through whatever it is you're going through, and like just the right things lining up. Not right things, but like enough shitty things to line up back to back to back. Yeah. And to be in a specific mindset to where you're just like, you know what? Maybe it would be easier to hit the end, you know.
Exactly. And that's what people don't understand. And if you have to think that out daily for months, you're you're messed up. You're drained. You're just completely like, I don't want to do it, but if it happens, I won't hate it.
Right.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
You
not
don't wanna
going
be
to
in
take
that
anybody out
mindset.
with me. I'm not going to put a gun in my mouth, but if my car went off this freeway because a bus cut me off, you know,
Oh no.
that was easy. Yeah.
As you're driving. No. No. The mental health especially for I know at least four friends that have taken their lives, self-deleted,
Yes.
that were ex-military. I had a buddy who I worked with. He had been. I had just gone through my divorce, and he was starting to go through it as well. And the wife was his soon-to-be ex-wife was taking the kids. He wasn't getting the same amount of time with his kids. He was running on hard times with money.
Mm-hmm.
And
These things add up.
just back to back to back to back to back. And I hadn't heard from him in like a week. And I had shot him a text in between that time. Somebody ended up finding him in his house, and he had gotten a rope and just self-delete. So it's and I just remember having like hour-long conversations with him, like, dude, I know it sucks right now, but I'm telling you, it will get better. You just need to get in a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You need to surround yourself with people that are in a different mindset, that aren't going to remind you, or at least help you work through these negative situations that you're dealing with right now. And he just...
No, you feel like such a burden. There's no light left.
It'll make it easier for everybody if I'm
they'll actually be happy.
It won't.
Like, that guy's gone. Like, you don't have to worry about if he's got food, does he got his bills paid.
No.
You know, you just want to not be a burden.
Yeah.
And
No, I've been there, and I'm the first one to tell people, like, I'm glad I didn't, obviously. Just because I love my kids, and that's honestly what kept me from doing stuff like that. Is my kids, and how they would see me, how they would think about me afterwards, and just what it would do to them and their grandkids or their kids. Like, oh yeah, Grandpa, he just ended it.
Right.
He took the easy button.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what's kept me from doing anything like that. So
I wouldn't even consider it now, but it was like the only thing I could think of for months.
Yeah.
You know, night sweats and just constant trauma, you know.
Jamming out
worthlessness.
sad songs 20 beers deep.
Just not feeling.
No. Yeah. That's the other thing too. You're in that mode of, I don't feel anything. Right. Maybe I'll feel this.
I'll never feel happy again, is the constant feeling. Like, there's no way out of this. I was offered no help and was told I wasn't even worthy of the help. I had a professional doctor under my private insurance. I went in and I said, "Hey, doctor, I'm having these really dark thoughts, not feeling, you know, like I want to be around anymore." And he goes, "You were late to this appointment, right?" And I say, "Yeah." He goes, "And you missed another appointment? I'm going to have to assign you another doctor because you're not a good patient." Like, I'm telling you, I want to not be here.
You know what?
But I was late to an appointment.
You were late, so you should probably just go through it.
Yeah, you missed another. Basically, that's what he's telling me. You know, like, I got nothing for you. And it was like a family doctor for a decade. You know?
That's dirty.
Yeah, that was really lame. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Has the VA been a lot more help with just mental health issues?
Yeah.
Emotional.
Well, I'm in a better place, of course, and this doctor will talk to me about stuff that it's not troubling me now, but it's like how to unwind 55 years of bad, you know, like
trauma issues.
Oh yeah, the trauma issues, which are deep, and I'm not crying about it, you know, to him, but I'm just letting it, and he helps me put them. It's like they used to defrag a computer, and you put all the pieces kind of back. I used to watch the thing, and it would make straight lines out of these terrible graphs, you know, and that's kind of where I feel like my brain is being reprogrammed or set on a better course of not just broken. And
Is there anything in particular that helped you get to that point?
just talking about it was first, you know, like, hey, and finding out my first counselor was a actual Auschwitz survivor. And she looked like Dr. Ruth, little, totally great German lady, or Jewish lady.
Yeah.
She was
on the other side.
Yeah, she spoke in a German accent. That's why I just kind of glitched on that. But
my
but she was Jewish.
in Auschwitz.
And
He was
she-
a guard. Like,
Not at all.
no.
And she could set you straight where I didn't like cry to her like, oh, woe is me. But I would tell her my story and she'd go, Jim, everybody's been through this. You're not the only one that's lost a business, lost a spouse, lost, you know, a living situation.
Right.
And she goes, and if anybody tells you that you have, that they have a worse situation and you don't feel worthy, she goes, right here. And she had the number tattooed on her arm.
Oh God.
And she goes, I'm good.
Right.
I survived. I'm living a productive life. And it's like, yeah, that's two things stand out from her. And this is could stay in or be edited, but it was like she goes, I don't normally talk about people's spouse if I have not met them, but your wife, she's a bitch.
It's always good when the therapist takes your side on things.
Yeah. And it became a common thread, like, why are you still there? Because this is while I was still living there and hadn't been told to vacate.
I could see that being a giant part of making you depressed.
Oh yeah.
God.
I was that's what my first attempt was during this being beaten up and being told you're worthless and
Belittled.
Yeah, completely belittled. And then at the end being told, like, never loved you. I just wanted out of my parents' house. You fail at everything, including suicide. Well, the house is done now, so you can go. You know,
I've been cheating the whole time. Like,
never said it, but
right.
it became
No, I'm
obvious.
just saying,
Yeah.
Usually that's
Yeah.
said.
No. Yeah. Now that would have been the full court
God.
press, but it was
Twist
just
to the knife.
yeah.
Like, God. No.
Yeah. I don't know. I never said a mean thing. And I just was talking to somebody else the other day, like, things you can't take back, like there's certain personalities that I would never say, you look ugly, your hair's fucked up, you got that dress is ugly. I would never say something that I felt like it would linger.
Right.
So
Like you wouldn't be able to move past if
Right.
you wanted to fix the relationship. or
exactly.
something.
And I was always on the side that it will improve, because a narcissist will dangle a carrot like, hey, you know, put this room on the house and it'll get back to normal. Get me a new Mercedes.
I'll be happier when you do this.
It'll be back to normal. You know, that those things you like, we could do
Right.
those again. You know, like,
Right.
it wasn't like I was begging her for sex. I never did, but it was like, that was just a way of knowing you had a relationship, you know, and when that's cut off and you can't even like touch someone on the back and like show anyone, because I learned that would, in her mind, lead to something she didn't want to do.
Right.
Like, affection equals sex. Like, well, I wasn't looking for sex, but I was just looking for a companion.
Connection.
Yeah.
Right.
To the person I've had children with,
Yeah.
you know, want to co-parent with, and it was just completely separate.
You should have just gone on a vacation to the Philippines. You know, like
And that wasn't what I was looking for either. It was just, you know, like, it was just, all these clues should have told me, like, oh yeah, our company Christmas parties, those are employee only. But I would have to drive her there, pick her up from there, seeing couples coming out. But I wasn't allowed there because it's employees only. This is a really big company, you know. It's got tons of money. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just gonna
what
deliver this.
What I found out is narcissists, they set up a whole separate life, and they're telling the coworkers a narrative that
Yep.
is not true.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
he's a piece of shit, and he's this, and he's a cheater. And it's this reflection they do of everything they're doing.
Yeah.
They tell
Gaslighting.
they tell other people you're doing those things. So then they hate you. And you find out later, like, oh, you thought this, and you knew this, and you heard this.
Yeah, that was her the whole time,
Yeah,
or him
that
the
was
whole
not
time.
not.
I think that I don't think that's just narcissists. I think that's just people when they're going through a situation that they don't want to be in at that
cheaters,
moment or
liars,
what. Yeah, because you're gonna make whatever excuses you have to in your head. That's why when I hear couples telling my wife one thing or telling me one thing, and like, and
both sides.
You're trying to give feedback on it, and it's like, okay, like I get what you're. Oh, sorry. Like I'm hearing what they're saying. You know, that being said, like, we're only hearing that side of the story. Like, there could be a completely different side of the story that says something completely different, and then when you put them both together, like, that's why when couples are going through issues and then they start working out more, going to the gym, like doing all that stuff, getting in better shape, getting healthier, and I'm like, I have a pretty good read on stuff like that. I did it myself when I was separating myself from my wife at the time, my ex-wife now. I was pushing myself away because I had already been pushed away. In that sense, and you know, when you don't have that connection, or you feel like that connection's been severed completely and there's no rebuilding it. Even though you're talking a big game, like, yeah, no, we'll fix it, we'll do this, that, and the other, but nothing changes. You just become numb to it, and you're like, whatever, I'll do something else, or I'll just sit here and suffer. And before meeting my wife now, like, I didn't think that I would find somebody that would accept me the way I am and take me at my faults. And you know, I had known my wife since I was like 13, my previous wife. And we got married when I was 16. So like, that's all I didn't
know.
Yeah. I didn't know that I would be able to have that kind of connection with somebody else, tell them everything, be completely open. And like it's just hard to get to that point where you can understand that this is a possibility of it happening again. You can meet somebody else.
I always have that kind of hope, and I never want to say never, but the odds go down the older you get. The more you've been through shit, the less you want to go through shit.
Right.
And me at 58, all the people that are in that pool have been beat up, been through shit. Like, the really pure-hearted, happy-go-luckies don't exist. I include myself. I'm a pessimist, and I think immediately someone's upset, or they're mad, or they don't want to talk, or, you know, it's like, I think things that aren't true, so I don't want to say, like I said, I'm not guilty of it, but it gets really difficult. Like, I was always hopeful, like, well, I can eventually get, because my buddy, like I mentioned, he got a second relationship that was beautiful. You know, like, you kind of think it out better than that first one where it's just like, oh, we're in love and this is the best. But then you, like, kind of check some stuff off the list as far as you are wanting and not wanting. But I mean, I gotta say, I'm in a very narrow lane at this point, you know, as far as.
There's a lot of women that are around your age that think that they're never going to find anybody. And like, they start getting into a mode where it's like, well, I'm just going to do it all on my own. And
that's it. That's where we're both at, men and women, where it's like, it's easier to be alone. I like my alone time. And I would love to have a relationship, but it's just like, they're either not into the same thing of, you know, well, he's been through some shit, you know, and it's just not, I don't know. I go on a lot of first dates, not a lot of second dates. Yeah.
Well, if you don't feel it, you don't feel it, you know? And I think that, I mean,
I go in open-minded, but it's like, I get ghosted. I get ghosted. I get ghosted. It's like, then you just like, well, what is so broken about me? But, you know, they've got issues too. I do it in the comedy a lot because a lot of males do these dating catastrophe jokes.
Right.
Some of them are sadder than others. I try to make them funny.
So there I was.
Yeah.
I think the best, if I was going to give anybody, not that I'm giving you advice.
No, I don't mind hearing it.
If I was going to give somebody advice that's like getting back into that scene, I don't think going on like meeting somebody on Plenty of Fish or
that seems to be the easiest lane to
Right.
actually meet, but then it's the most likely to fail lane as well.
for women, all they have to do is throw fishing lines out there. They don't they'll talk to you and be like, oh yeah, totally, we should go to dinner. While also talking to another guy that might be a little bit more attractive and might have these other aspects that there's always going to be somebody that's bigger, better, stronger, faster, smarter, whatever.
That's the draw of these websites it is that quick. It's like used to
Yes.
be you'd meet somebody at work, you'd have this crush, you'd talk about it, you'd have lunch with them, and it was a slow build. Now it's like, boom, I met a person on Thursday that wanted to go out on Valentine's night and then take them out, get them dinner, get them drinks, and then like, boom, you're done. That's it.
They might just want dinner.
That's all
and
they
drinks.
want. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I don't have to pay for it. You're a traditional man, right?
I would never make a woman pay, but it's just like it's not even like thank you,
Right.
And
no good night blowjob, nothing.
and I'm not into that. Like there's these
right.
I heard this because I've been dating a while or just talking to people a while now. Like the women have set up, this is what I've heard, this thing about 2 dates max, because there was this thing for years, like guys were saying, if I don't get it on the third date, I'm dumping her. So they would make sure there wasn't even a third date to make that a possibility. They cut it off at 2 or 1. Because there's always another guy that'll take them out.
Right.
Like you said, there's another guy. There's another guy.
As they go up in age, though, that and I'm not saying like as women get older they lose their value.
No,
but like
I don't
not
believe
saying
that. I've always liked
it's
people my age.
Fresh and Fit podcast or something like.
Yeah.
It's what I would say if I was going to give somebody any advice, it would be, I think the best places to meet good women that are the caliber of women you would want to surround yourself with is by going to places that you enjoy. Let's say it's church. Let's say it's a veteran organization or workshop or whatever. You're going to be around other women that are going to have possibly the same ideals, the same kind of framework in their head that you have at that time, or at a job or a vacation or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like meeting them out instead of just seeing a picture of them and reading some BS bio that's like, oh yeah, and I like long walks on Moonlit Beach.
Yeah, it's a false setup.
I believe it.
And traditionally, the last 40 years, I've worked at places that are all dudes. Currently, all dudes. You know, a car shop, it's all dudes. You meet no women there. And I'm not a bar person. I'm not going to bars.
Right.
And I go to the gym, and just walk on the treadmill and go home. I don't seem to meet anybody there either. So yeah, the church thing's probably the best. Probably thing I haven't
get-togethers.
Yeah,
like it's the best, easiest excuse to go. Like Veterans Life magazine has so many things in their magazines of events and stuff like that, where you're gonna meet a whole gambit. There's women that might have been married to a veteran that passed away or something, and now they're just kind of doing the same thing.
I guess my toe in the water with that hasn't been as leaning that way, because I go to those breakfasts, which are dude fest, or there's the one woman, she's with a guy,
right?
You know, there's 3 women there total. There's 300 guys or whatever there is there,
right?
But yeah,
the
no ladies.
Numbers are off. It's like 3 to 1.
Oh yeah, 1,000 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta get those odds going back the other way.
Yeah,
I heard the Philippines. All right, no, I'm just kidding. I'm like trying to push the Philippines on everyone.
Yeah,
yeah, we should go. Like I heard there were passport bros. Like,
no,
I get it.
The cruise just seems like online dating on a boat.
Yes, yeah.
It's just,
and some of the women there might just want to be boning.
Yeah, it's what it is. Yeah, they're not wanting to get into a serious deal, but yeah.
No, I think just putting yourself out there at like get-togethers, events with people that are like-minded.
Yeah,
I think that makes the biggest difference.
Yeah,
and church is the best, even if the chicks be like fake there at church, like, oh yes, my Lord and Savior, I'm so pure.
Yeah,
like she might still be like, I am not an angel. My wife is more of an angel than I will ever be.
Yeah,
and it kind of makes me feel not inadequate on that end, but like it makes me feel like a dirty person because I know what I've done in my life
Yeah.
compared to what she's done in her life, and it's like, fuck, she's such a better person than
A
me.
saint. Yeah.
And I've been trying to like live my life in a different way that makes me feel not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Where it's more like I want to help people. I want to help veterans specifically because it's such a small group. Like we are a very small group of people that have dedicated and put our lives on the line for our country. And I think that's the most patriotic thing you could do. And those people deserve to know what benefits are out there. And that's like my whole shtick. So like, I'm the biggest. I mean, how many times have I bugged you about like going to stuff or going to the VA? And it's just, I think it's something that can really help people. And hopefully I can see some more.
I thought the comedy would be a way to meet some ladies, but so far that's been not a thing either.
No.
Yeah, it's funny because I do not have it in my DNA or chromosomes to flirt, but I have occasionally one in specifically I flirted with this one comedian lady. Like I've shouted out to her in the audience. She was outside the thing one time and I had her come in here. There's not enough ladies in here. I need you up front. And it just is like it's just apparently a lot of these dudes, they're just douchebags. The comedian guys, super douchey. Like, and I've seen now where it's like comedians will talk in interviews like, yeah, don't date comedians. They're losers. These guys suck. They're horrible people. Like, great. So I got myself in yet another no-go situation because I just try and be funny and nice. And it's like, nope, you're a douchebag.
No winning.
Douchebag.
God.
Yeah,
No,
it's funny.
I
like to laugh about life and its weird things because I told you, I didn't tell you this, but my parents programmed me growing up like, you get a girl pregnant, you're out of the house. Get a girl pregnant because this is their situation. Right. So like they turned me off from ever having girlfriends or definitely intimacy because get a girl pregnant because there wasn't 100% birth control at 16 when I'm growing up in the 80s, and it hand in hands with AIDS pops up about the same time I'm getting ready to have this epiphany. So it's like I had all this stuff stacked against me where it's like, okay, the first person I think is a decent person that wants to have sex with me, marry him. Like no dating around, no chesting the waters, no like seeing what's out there. Like boom. Like,
oh God.
So
not the best way to go about it.
Not the best. And
it's kind of like getting married really young. Not the best way to
go
about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I was in a committed relationship at 18. We were engaged and married by 20. Kids 22. So, yeah, I didn't have that. People talk about, well, my crazy period. Oh, it was crazy, and they give you that wink thing. Like, didn't have a crazy period. Didn't have that test drive, trying it out, wheels thing. That's why I say I'm terrible at flirting or like making it known.
Right.
You know, I can't run up. Like I've gone to a couple bars and I've gone to what's the deal? It's not the Veterans Center, but what's the hand in hand to that? I always think it starts with an M and an E, or what's the not the VFW, but what's the other social?
I don't know. I don't go to.
Yeah, there's one in Windsor. It's not the VFW. It's something else. But it's where veterans go, hang out. There's a bar in there, and there's people.
Oh, I think I went to that one, but it's the VFW.
Is it
it's
the VFW?
Like part VFW and there's like motorcycle clubs that go there as well.
Yeah, there's a stage, there's a dance floor, there's a little bar, but even that I haven't struck up any conversations. It's weird. It's like there's a group of couples, then there's some groups of women, but they like kind of like giving people the mad dog face. Like, we're having ladies' nights, okay? Don't be coming in picking one off the herd. It's funny. Yeah, stay back.
Get into the rave scene. Like
that is funny you say that. Oh, dude. I have a friend who I used to work with whose dad is in his 80s that goes to raves.
Oh, God.
And tells us about him, and we just It's amusing. We can't laugh in his face, but it's
Right.
like we do picture the same thing. Like, oh, there he is in the corner, oons with a glow stick.
But it's like slower.
Is that creepy? That's kind of creepy.
Hey, ladies, what are we doing tonight?
We just picture him with the shirt open.
White hairs.
Dude, come on. Really?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Is there any shout outs you want to give for any groups, any car shows, anything like that? Anywhere people can.
You said Iowa. I'm just telling you what I'm looking forward to this year. There's a car show in Des Moines, Iowa. It's my favorite car show.
Nice.
The good guys, Rod and Custom. I used to work for them. I used to be the editor of their magazine, and I traveled to all their car shows for 3 years, taking the pictures, writing the stories about these car shows. The Des Moines car show ended up being my favorite car show in the country. I don't know if you've been to Des Moines.
West Des Moines is where my wife lives.
Have you been to the fairgrounds there?
Yeah, I think we went there for
It's
that
got the
big
Main
festival. What's the big festival out in Iowa?
I wouldn't know that one. But 4th of July weekend, they have a car show at that fairgrounds, which is 100 and probably 20-year-old fairground.
Oh, it's huge.
Beautiful brick buildings, a stadium where they do car races like jalopy.
Nice.
And that is my favorite fairgrounds because it has a main street that the cars cruise up and down. And there's no, I mean, since it's in a fairgrounds, there's no outside traffic with idiots trying to pull their brand new car in and do that burnout crap and run around in circles. It's just old cars, mellow vibe. So I'm looking forward to that. That's 4th of July weekend.
Nice.
And
I think we were gonna try and head out there at some point around there. I'll get that info afterwards. Cause
I just did a big car show out in California, the Grand National Roadster Show, where the shop I work at had a car in the big competition. That was a lot of fun. So I'm glad I'm still got my feet in it, and not as deeply as I did at one point when I was doing the magazine and had all these readers. And that's just another one I joke about. Like, yeah, I had 250,000 monthly readers, all dudes. Never had a woman come and go, man, love that story you did. I did a car show. People yelling at me like they know me, because if you write in a conversational style, I found out readers start thinking you as a voice of a friend.
Right.
So it caught me the first time I would go to a car show and I'm walking around like, Jim. And like, they start talking to you about a story, and then you realize that was a story I wrote for the magazine.
Right.
But it sounds like it's a story we've shared together, like, hey, you're working on your car and you got that one thing with the carburetor. Like, do I know you? And like, oh,
how'd you know that?
You're a reader. Okay, now I got it. So I missed that part. That was a great social angle to that.
I think that's why people like podcasts.
That's where it's moved to.
Yeah.
And people bug me about, Jim, why don't you do a podcast? Because, you can connect with those people again. Like, I haven't felt it enough to where that would be necessary.
Right.
But I get it. I totally get it. I would love to do more, even with you or.
Oh, dude, you're more than welcome to come on here anytime.
Yeah.
And aside from just like, I like doing ones where I'm talking to vets about what they've been through and their time in the military.
Yeah,
and stuff
and maybe
like that.
hopefully you think of more things that we could talk about, or even your people that watch it, like, could throw a suggestion out. Like, it would be interesting. Like, I don't mind. It's almost like having a conversation with a third person. I don't want to think of it as 100 or 1,000. Like, one person says a thing, and they kick it off that, guys, talk about this, and it's almost like they're part of it if they just suggest that topic.
Right.
What's it?
I read the comments. If anybody's got suggestions, put them out there. Let us know.
Sure.
I've got a lot of stuff that I want to do this year. My goal is to try and do at least a podcast a week, or at least 3 podcasts.
I'd love to touch base with you once a month and have a 5-minute conversation, just like, this is what happened, or this is funny,
right?
Whatever it is, it's a little briefer, quicker little things, and you talk to 20 people a month, and I think that would be really helpful to your audience of people that want to hear more from you.
Anytime.
Yeah.
All you got to do is hit me up.
All right. Very good.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming out here.
Joe,
I appreciate
love it. Thank you.
Perfect.
You good?
Hell yeah, nice. You made it.
Scene.